Alright guys, we are going to go ahead and play the intro to Papa Roach's Last Resort. Now this one, to a lot of people, seems like one that's maybe unattainable to a beginner guitarist, but actually it's really kind of a good finger exercise to go ahead and give a shot, because it's not, it's more repetitive than you might think, so it's not this long, endless line of notes you have to memorize. Let's go ahead and get started with it. I'm probably a little loud here. Let me turn down. Okay. Now, on this, you do want a lot of distortion on this song, because there's not a point where you don't have a lot of distortion. So go ahead and crank it up. And honestly, I don't have a Les Paul style guitar myself, but humbuckers would be better to have instead of just a Stratocaster. But you can play it on any guitar. Play it on an acoustic if that's what you've got. We're really just trying to learn the songs here. So now the riff basically goes like this. Okay. Now basically, what you're going to do here is you've got a series of a few notes that you repeat, and then the bass notes that go before that change. You've got 4 of those. So here's what it is. I want you to memorize this first. I'm breaking this up out of order, but we'll put it all together towards the end. So the series of notes I want you to learn are, okay? That's 7 notes that I want you to get used to doing. So here's what we're doing. We're starting on the A string with our 3rd finger. And it is important that you use these fingers for sanity's sake later in the song, so you don't have to do something crazy to be able to still play full speed. So your 3rd finger is going to go on the 10th fret of the A string. Okay, remember this is 12th fret, 9th fret, 7th fret. So here's our 10th fret. We're going to put our 3rd finger there and play that note. Now you're going to take your middle finger and play the 9th fret right behind it on the A string. Okay? So 1, 2. Then you're going to go back to the 10th fret on the A string with your 3rd finger. So 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to take your middle finger and play the 9th fret on the D string. Okay, I'm going to the D string now, not the A string. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're coming back to the 10th fret on the A string with our 3rd finger. Then going back to the 9th fret on the A string. Then going back to the 10th fret on the A string. Okay, so that was 7 notes that you need to memorize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? Try to get really good at that. Go slowly at first. Then try to speed it up gradually. What you're trying to get going here is that muscle memory, to where you're not having to think about this with your brain. Your hand just remembers how it feels to play this. So play it slowly, and then start to try and speed it up a little bit at a time. Okay? Now, you probably recognize that's not all the notes that are in the riff, so we're going to add those bass notes that I was talking about. I'm calling them bass notes just because they're lower than the notes we're playing, and there's 4 of them. So here's what we're going to do. You actually start off the riff by playing with your 1st finger in the 7th fret of the A string. So this note right here, we're going to pluck that one. That's our 1st bass note, okay? Now you're going to play that riff you learned. So play your bass note and play the riff. Okay? Now it's time for your 2nd bass note. I like, since my 3rd finger is occupied because it just played that last note, I like to use my middle finger to play the 10th fret of the E string. Okay? So that's the 10th fret of the E string. That's my 2nd bass note. Then I play my riff again. Now it's time for my 3rd bass note. My 1st finger is free, so I'm going to use it to play the 8th fret of the E string. Okay? So So that's the 8th fret of the E string. Then guess what? It's time for our riff again. So now it's time for our 4th and last bass note, and that is with our first finger on the 7th fret of the E string, the thick one. Okay? And then you play your riff again. So let's go through that slowly again. We have our 4 bass notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have our riff that goes in between each one. Okay? So try to play along with me here slowly. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, we're going to reset and do that again. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, now work on that and work on it and work on it until you get comfortable. Then speed it up. Almost all of my students like to try and play the songs full speed before they actually know how to play the songs. So try to avoid mistakes like that and go slowly on these songs before you get good. Once you're feeling more comfortable with it, then go ahead and speed up. So full speed is about this fast. Okay? Now, there is one other little trick you need to learn for the song, and it's palm muting. You may have learned how to do palm muting from somebody else or from one of my other videos. Basically, what you're going to do here is slightly mute the strings you're playing. And it's for the verse. During the verse, you're going to hear this same riff, but it's going to sound a little bit different. It's going to sound like this. Instead of like this, it's going to sound like this. Okay? Now, here's what's happening. Nothing different is going on with your left hand. Play everything the same here. But your right hand is going to be doing something a little bit different. You're going to take this part of your hand, right here, the heel of your hand, and put it basically on the bridge back here of the guitar neck. This is the bridge. Put it there, and then slide forward until you're touching those strings. Like that, okay? Now, if you're too far forward, if you're way up here, you'll get that sound. You don't want that. So you're going to have to move it up and down until you get just that right sound. There we go. That's the sound we want. You palm mute any notes that you play. You let the heel of your hand touch those strings, just like that. Okay? Now, it's a tricky thing to get used to, but once you get it, it's kind of like riding a bike. You won't forget it too easy once you get the feel for it. Okay, so it's going to sound like this. Okay, and that's the palm muting you're going to do during the verse when they're still repeating this guitar riff. Now, there are other parts of the song. There's a chorus that has some other chords in it, so I'm going to make another video to have